Trump's plan for the Strait of Hormuz, and could Iran's new Ayatollah actually be gay? Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. The president from the Oval Office this afternoon sticking to his guns on Iran, reminding his critics who exactly we are dealing with after 50 years of watching his own country tap dance around Islamist psychopaths. Take a listen.
We did a job for the world, not a job for us, for the whole world. We took the worst country in 50 years and maybe longer, a country that wanted to blow up the world, a country that is sick. If you give Iran a nuclear weapon, at least a very substantial part of the world would be blown up. When they say death to America, you should believe them, because that's what they would have. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it.
Friday night, we broke the news right here on this show. The U.S. targeting Karg Island, the Iranian regime's most important asset, this tiny little island in the Persian Gulf where Iran's oil all arrives to be loaded onto ships and then transported out to the open sea and all the countries that Iran sells oil to. Half of Iran's entire budget comes from this island. It was heavily guarded, and all of that security, as you see right there, has been blown to bits. The oil infrastructure, though, we're told, does still remain for now.
We attacked Karg Island, and we left just the one little area standing, and the standing part is where they have the pipes, all the oil pipes come in. And we can do that on 5 minutes notice. We have it all locked and loaded and ready to go if we want to do it. But we chose not to do it. I chose not to do it yet. We'll see what happens.
So the president there on the plane says he'll blow it all up if Iran refuses to allow these oil tankers to continue to move through the Strait of Hormuz. That's their plan, right? They want to gut the economy to end this war. Trump says, we'll end your whole world and your entire economy if you don't let the ships through. As for now, it's peaceful so far. We'll see what happens. Trump announcing today he's working on a coalition of nations to escort ships safely through the Strait of Hormuz, again asking NATO to help finally destroy a regime that has threatened the West for decades, and to assist with these ships getting through so we can all have appropriately priced energy. And once again, finding not much interest from countries who have been mooching off NATO's protection since the end of the Second World War. And as you know, nothing irritates the president more than our European fair weather friends.
We're protecting countries that don't protect us. And I've always felt that was a weakness of NATO. We were going to protect them. But I always said, when in need, they won't protect us. And if we need their mine boats, or if we need anything, any piece of apparatus that they may have because of a situation that they have, they should be jumping to help us, because we've helped them for years. They should be involved enthusiastically. We've been protecting these countries for years with NATO, because NATO is us.
NATO is us. The Germans claiming this is not their war. No Western country has been hit harder by radical Islamic terror than the Germans, except maybe the French. Trump wants to remove the most radicalizing government in the world, and our allies, of course, would prefer it if we could just handle this on our own. Trump says it'll be a bad future for NATO if they don't help get this strait open along his side. And resurfacing over the weekend, evidence that Trump's position on Iran has been steady for decades, going all the way back to 1988, nearly 40 years ago. Trump saying, I'd be harsh on Iran. They've been beating us psychologically, making us look like a bunch of fools. One bullet shot at one of our men or ships, and I'd do a number on Karg Island. I'd go in and take it. Iran can't even beat Iraq, yet they push the United States around. It'd be good for the world to take them on. Isn't that something, from 1988, and a body slam to all the critics who say that the president's been dragged into this war by Israel or by the military-industrial complex? It's worth repeating, Trump has shoved off pressures to go to war for years that he has been in the White House. He's been in the White House for 5 years collectively. And he's resisted war all of these years. His critics, especially those who supported him but then abandoned him over this war, need to realize that there is a big difference between forever wars and operations like this to prevent those forever wars from happening. Here's Trump with Barbara Walters 39 years ago talking about Iran.
But as far as Trump is concerned, our allies are only part of the problem. The real culprit is Iran.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean
go
we
in,
take their oil?
You go in. You're
How
gonna have
do
a
we
war,
go
Barbara.
in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
You're going to have a war, and it's going to start in the Middle East. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations, and I mean grab it and keep it, and get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
Nice reminder to everybody that this is a country that we have been dealing with and tiptoeing around for a very long time. This is an awful regime that has been causing the world a lot of headaches and death and suffering for almost 50 years. This isn't a new idea. This wasn't just some, off the cuff, oh, let's go invade Iran because we got nothing else to do. This has been building up for a long time. It's been in his head for almost 50 years. The Karg Island operation was 4 decades in the making. CENTCOM today showing the destruction of drone storage facilities in Iran. That's the last big thing they have, are these drones that they're firing off. We're blowing up the places that they store them as fast as we can, as well as the places that they build them, the manufacturing facilities, as you see on the screen, being decimated by our bombs as the regime continues to be pummeled. The IDF destroying Iran's version of Air Force One as well. The supreme leader's jet has been blown to bits. Trump asked if he's worried about his poll numbers as his operation is continually criticized viciously by the media.
Do you have any concerns about the political impacts of this? I mean,
I have to do what's right. Political, I'm sure everybody has concern. I have to do what's right. I can't say that, I don't want to have any impact on oil prices for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 months, and we're going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon and blow up the entire Middle East and beyond.
So with that, we finally arrive at the absolute best part of the Iran story for the day, the fact that the new Ayatollah, the supreme leader of a fierce and terrifying Islamist regime in the Middle East, is very possibly gay. The New York Post reporting President Trump was stunned to learn last week that U.S. intelligence indicates new Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei may be gay, and that his father, the late Ayatollah, feared his suitability to rule the Islamic Republic for that reason. Yeah, it's kind of hard to rule a country, an Islamic regime that kills homosexuals, when you are one. CBS reporting issues in his personal life as the reason his father did not want Mojtaba to get the job that he has. More from the Post. Sources say the implausible sounding allegation is viewed as credible by U.S. spy agencies. They don't have photographic evidence of Mojtaba's alleged sexual attraction to men, but the sources insisted the tip is solid, with one saying it was derived from one of the most protected sources that the government has. We understand that when this was all revealed to the president and his closest advisors, that they all just started cracking up. Which is exactly what you would expect when you think about what Iran is and the idea that the Ayatollah might be a gay guy. It might be the funniest thing I've heard all year. Take a moment and digest. The Islamic Republic of Iran, the most fiercely Islamic regime in the world, is likely run by a homosexual. The world has only seen a handful of gay leaders on this planet at this point. It's happened only a few times, all in very progressive Europe. And now it appears likely that a gay man runs a country in the Middle East that kills gay men. Okay. KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor to the President, joins us now. I'm waiting for you to giggle, but I guess we'll talk about all of this because there's a lot to go into here. Let's start with, and we'll get to that in a second, but Trump announcing the coalition of nations that he's looking for to move these tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, and a threat to fully annihilate Karg Island if Iran does not allow the free flow of oil. How do you picture this ends?
Oh, I think it ends very much on our terms, and it'll end when President Trump's decided, it's done. Here's a couple of things that come to mind. So a number of our European allies have complained to say, well, it's America's responsibility to immediately open the Strait of Hormuz. But guess what? The Strait of Hormuz is not our shipping lane. American goods are not going transit from the Persian Gulf to the Strait of Hormuz. It's the European goods, it's the Middle Eastern goods, and it's the Asian goods. That's their trade route. That's not our trade route. And so when these allies, supposed allies, come and President Trump says, well, can we count on you? Can you be there with us? Can you send over your ships? Can we use your airports to refuel, to base our planes on? Oh, no, 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 no. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They think it's our problem. And so the irony of it is President Trump has said time and again, it's the European leaders and the European countries have freeloaded again. They've freeloaded on NATO, and now they're sure freeloading on now. They expect us to fix it. We'll fix it, but not on their timeline.
Right. Do you think that the Revolutionary Guard, the military in Iran, is running the country at this point?
Yeah. And here's why. There's some statements issued by, I guess, the new supreme leader, who, by the way, we've seen no proof of life.
Right.
We don't even know if he's alive.
Yeah.
He's issued statements in his name. I mean, maybe it's a Joe Biden situation, right? Maybe his aides are issuing the statements. But he'll say something. The supreme leader will say something, especially to their nearby neighbors in the Persian Gulf. Well, we're not going to attack you. We're not going. And then 10 minutes later, the Revolutionary Guard fires off missiles into the skyscrapers in Dubai. So there's a lot of mixed messaging going on. The problem with the IRGC is that it's not only is that they're military, they control the besieged, which are these thugs who enforce, women wearing headscarves and beat them if they don't. It's the Quds Force, which is their proxy army, their international force. Yeah. But they also own about 60% of the Iranian economy. They're not just the military. Think of them as the entire defense industrial complex of Iran. Interestingly, President Trump has targeted those, we expect him to target those, the command and control centers, the senior leaders of that, but he has left alone another military group in Iran, and that's the regular Iranian army, which is not it predates the revolution. It's a very professional group, but interestingly, he's left them alone. And I think, to my mind, he's thinking, well, we've got Karg Island. We could blow it up any time, but that would destroy the Iranian economy for at least a decade. We could go after this regular Iranian army, military, very professional, but we're going to leave them alone. And I think he's looking beyond the war.
We're all waiting to see if there's some faction that will come and face us and potentially end this thing. And will anybody... Is the army big enough to shake off? Is there any coalition that might come together and say, you know what, we're done with the mullahs, we're done with running this country this way, let's save the country, give the people, some basic freedoms, let them choose a government? Is that possible?
You and I don't know the answer to that. President Trump, I'm sure, is very confident in the intelligence that we're getting ourselves and from the Israelis. I mean, just think of the kind of military operations that they pulled off, where they could have a missile shoot a guy in one room, but the room next to him is not targeted. And so I think that they know exactly who's there, who they might be able to work with, who they can't work with. And maybe that is the hope, that there's some internal group that either within the administration or the regime, like the second tier, that would maybe step forward. But in any event, President Trump is going to destroy their ability to be a threat to us for at least a decade, no matter what happens. For at least a decade. That'll buy it some time, but it doesn't end the threat forever. That's... he didn't want to have to come back. KT, good to see you. Thanks so much. Great. Thank you. Dr. Sheila Nazarian fled Iran with her family during and I believe just before the revolution, and she joins us now. And Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. I want to start with the New York Post reporting on this intelligence briefing that potentially the new Ayatollah of Iran is a gay man. And I just can't even fathom, when you read that, what went through your mind, thinking about what they have done to the people of this country for the last 50 years.
Well, Rob, I mean, are we really that surprised? I feel like they always accuse others of what they themselves are guilty of. Am I right? And I'm so glad this is my topic because, it's not a secret in Iran that these clerics even that are, the religious leaders do what is called bachebazi, which directly translates in English to child's play. And what it means, they have this saying, little girls are to look at, little boys are to play with. And so what Islam has told them is that you can't touch a woman. So what they do is have little boys dance and dress like women, and so that they can play with them. So this is not a shocker to any Iranian. It is a well-known fact.
What a beautiful culture. It explains a lot, doesn't it, about the son here, that, why he has such a fierce reputation, why his dad didn't want him, maybe overcompensating in some way. And in a country where they kill homosexuals, the idea that the Ayatollah could be a gay man. I mean, how does that compute to the people of that country? How many people do you think are aware of that inside that country?
Probably a lot of people. Rumors get around the Iranian people. They're very social. They talk. So I'm sure it doesn't come as a shock to many. It is really unfortunate that they will hang gay people, lay people from cranes in public executions. They actually executed 1,000 people just last year. And per capita, Rob, they have been at the top of the list for executions year after year after year. This is a brutal regime. We actually escaped in 1985 after the revolution, and they were shooting at us. Imagine, Rob, they were shooting at us not to leave. They weren't the border police shooting at us to not enter their country. They were shooting at us because it's an open-air prison and they won't let us leave.
I got time for one last question here. What is your hope? I mean, what do you hope happens here in the next couple of weeks? The president doesn't seem like he wants to go more than a couple more weeks on this. What do you think?
I disagree. I think it's going to be 6 weeks. And I think that he doesn't want to do this mow the lawn kind of, strategy that we've seen, kick the can down the road. Because you know what, Rob? Our kids and grandkids are going to have to deal with a fully stockpiled nuclear Iran. And this is not a legacy, not just that we don't want to leave to the Iranian people. I've heard horrific stories, Rob. I just heard a story yesterday, a girl put in jail at 17, raped by 70 different men, comes out 5 years later with a 3-year-old child with no teeth and no fingernails from the torture she endured. And this is one story of tens of thousands. This is a brutal regime. It doesn't care about its people. And I don't think the Iranian people will tolerate having a person from within this regime continue to rule, period.
I don't think they will either. This is vile people. Some of the worst people that have ever walked this planet are the ones running your former country. Dr. Nazarian, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Tennessee Republican Andy Ogles is demanding a return to pre-1965 immigration policy in this country where first world Europeans get the priority. He joins us on that coming up next. Plus, we know you didn't watch, but we're going to have the top lunacy from last night.
Listen, when a government murders people on the streets of our major cities.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along, and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, others are coming along. And people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
Yep, that's there.
Is the gauge supposed to say empty?
You can't trust those things. Don't worry, we're tethered for safety.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you certified for this?
Technically, no.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Matt.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. I'll take it in, but don't look down. I'm on top of the world. I've been waiting this long. Been holding it in for a while.
For the champions you love, trust Cosequin, the #1 vet-recommended retail joint health supplement brand. Cosequin.
Thought they were cooling off on the sidelines? Well, they're just getting warmed up.
Surprise, DirecTV got hot.
Hey, you know, I played in high school.
Really?
Well, I went to high school. I didn't go to high school.
Anyway, it's never been easier to keep up with your favorite sports on live TV and streaming apps.
So hot.
Wait, there's no ice in yours.
Why would I ruin a perfectly good bath?
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
All right, after a string of terror attacks in recent weeks committed by naturalized citizens from the Middle East and Africa, one Republican has a pragmatic, non-PC solution. Tennessee's Andy Ogles is proposing the Assimilation Act, the most sweeping changes to the U.S. legal immigration system in decades. Ogles wants to reverse the Hart-Celler Immigration Act of 1965 and bring America back to holding a preference for first world European immigration. This bill will not only repeal the Hart-Celler Act, it'll also end H-1B visa, that scam, ends chain migration, and create a whole new character-based system of migration to the country, importing a better quality of immigrant. Ogles has also called to ban Muslims from the country completely, which of course exploded the left into a fury. Indian-born Michigan Democrat Sri Thanadar introducing a 2-page resolution to censure Ogles over that, and the congressman joins us now to give us his perspective. Good to have you on again, sir. In today's very progressive world, it takes a lot of guts to announce what you have planned here. Explain why you think this is the best way to do it.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is, quite frankly, watch your show, watch the news, and you see the terror attacks. You see how immigration was weaponized against the American people during the Biden administration. We have people that, quite frankly, don't belong here. They hate us. In particular, those individuals from Afghanistan, parts of Africa, again, they're the ones committing crimes. And when they go into local communities, you can literally watch the crime increase in those communities relative to the migration, the invasion of immigrants into this country. So it's a very pragmatic approach. We get to prioritize who comes to this country. Guess what? It's our country. We get to decide who comes in. That also means we get to decide who leaves. And so the current immigration system is broken. It's abused. You know, you have the chain migration where one person comes in and suddenly their entire family gets to follow. That ends. The H-1B visa scam, that ends. And so, again, let's get back to the basics and let's thoroughly vet people who are coming into this country and make sure they belong here.
Yeah, I mean, you're being slammed as just patently racist for this because of the anti-Islamic side of this thing. And you know, the problem with Islam, you know, and I've said this to a lot of people. My mother was born in Iran. There are people that practice Islam in my extended family. But the problem with Islam is that it is so effectively radicalized. And there is no way to know what people really believe. You can vet them all you want. We have vetted so many people that have committed radical Islamic terror on us in this country. We've failed at the vetting so many times. There's also no way to know if they'll become radicalized in the future once they get here in one of our thousands of American mosques, and many of those are working against this country every single day, as we know. So I understand. Yeah. I understand your perspective there. I don't know what other solution there is. If you want to stop this problem, it might take something offensive to stop the problem.
Well, you know, think about the Trump approach. You know, you take a sledgehammer to it and then you rebuild it in a very practical, methodical manner. That's what we have to do here. So every day that this immigration system stays in place, we have literal terrorists coming into this country. And oh, by the way, under Joe Biden, because the border was so porous, we have literal terror cells that are operating in our country, on our soil, and we don't know where they are. And so we've got to get back again to pragmatic solutions here.
And you know what else I think it should be a demand is there are the majority of the Muslims in this country are peaceful. What we don't hear enough is their condemnation of the radicalization of that religion. You never hear that anywhere near enough. They don't like to do that. They don't like to put a spotlight on it. But there are just a couple lines in that book that are twisted to turn these people into psychopaths. And you don't hear nearly enough condemnation from the peaceful Muslims in this country and around the world against that.
That's right. I mean, to your point, we've had 4 Muslim terror attacks on American soil in the last few weeks. Every mosque in this country should have put out a statement.
Exactly.
You know, condemning those attacks, defending Americans, defending our Constitution. But did you hear it? I didn't, because they didn't say a thing, because they actually support it. And look, and you can't build a profile. If you go all the way back to 9/11, the terrorists that committed those atrocities, killed all those individuals, they had assimilated, at least on face value, into America. They were drinking. They were dating American girls.
The night before,
They were blending in, right? Then what did? They went did the ritualistic process. They cleansed themselves, and then they killed a bunch of Americans. So this idea that suddenly if they look peaceful, they are peaceful, history has not borne that out. The facts do not bear that out. We must put an end to this immigration problem, and we must lock down this border. My Assimilation Act will fix this, and it will protect Americans.
Yeah, it's something else. And yeah, if you want to read, check out what the attackers on 9/11 were doing in the days before the attack in South Florida. The way they partied before they took down those towers, just disgusting. Congressman Ogles, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Terror supporters screamed their devotion to Hamas, to Hezbollah, right here on the streets of New York. Plus, a young woman's rant against an outrageous estate tax proposal goes viral. She joins us next.
It's our America. We built it. Courage, freedom. Millions go to Newsmax when they need to know. Start today on the free Newsmax app. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Pump up the volume.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. LoBaido changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give LoBaido a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is LoBaido's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
LoBaido targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
LoBaido has over 50,000 5-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at LoBaido, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to LoBaido.
Call LoBaido for your free consultation today.
Oh, that new Cologuard Plus test.
10 out of 10.
Now I detect 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
Somebody's been working on himself.
Girl, those blue arms say I got you.
The square jaw says, trust me.
And the free return label says, I'm going places.
The Cologuard Plus test. Non-invasive, no prep, and better than ever. For people 45 plus at average risk, it's the box that checks all the boxes for screening. False positive and negative results may occur, not for those at high risk. Ask your provider or request Cologuard Plus online.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
We support Hezbollah here. Say it loud and say it clear. Say it loud and say it clear. We support Hezbollah here. We support Hezbollah here. We support Hamas here. We support Hamas here. New York City, you will see. New York City, you will see. Palestine will be free.
Actual terror supporters on the streets of New York. Imagine feeling so comfortable in a place that you can say things like this, screaming their support for Hamas, for Hezbollah, people that just murder innocent people as fast as they can, have full support on the streets of New York. And they feel awfully safe in a city that is now run by a terror sympathizer and his wife, also a terror sympathizer. As Mamdani eats on the floor and turns the mayor's mansion into a mosque, his wife has been caught celebrating the October 7th attacks online where babies were put into ovens, women were ruthlessly raped, and illustrating an essay for an author that called Israeli citizens parasites online. The mayor is once again answering for his horrific wife, trying to weasel out of the truth that it seems clear they both feel.
I think that rhetoric is patently unacceptable. I think it's reprehensible. The First Lady was commissioned to illustrate an excerpt of a book by a third party. She has never engaged with or met with the author, nor had she seen the tweets that you're referring to. And I can tell you our administration, which is separate from the First Lady, as she doesn't have a role within it, against bigotry of all forms.
As Mamdani and his wife practice a religion that likes to toss gay people off the roofs of buildings, Zoran has created the first office for LGBTQIA+ affairs and appointed a transsexual person to lead it.
And not only founding our city's first office for LGBTQIA+ affairs, we are also appointing our first director. Taylor will be the first out trans woman to lead a city office in New York City history.
This is not a culture war. We are not the enemy.
What a moment. Scott LoBaido is a New York-based artist and activist. Marien Richardson is a conservative content creator, and they both join me now. Good to have you guys here. Scott, we're led by a pro-trans Islamist. Still trying to figure that one out, but the pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, pro-terror group in this city, which luckily was a small group, are very emboldened in this moment to stand on our streets and scream, "We love Hezbollah."
Look, I want to just start by saying, you know who I feel sorry for more than anybody else in all of these situations that we watch happening in the streets, not only of New York City, but across the country, but specifically New York City. I wear this blue shirt specifically in honor of the men and women throughout the history of this city who wore that blue, who wore that badge, and what they are going through. That they had the opportunity from the three past generals, which was de Blasio, Adams, and now Mamdani, to hand the easiest, simplest ammunition to the NYPD to settle this insanity. It is a fight of good versus evil across the world, we all know. But for this city specifically, it is so easy to control this insanity. Right. And the NYPD are going through hell, as they've been going through for decades, and this is going to be the worst 4 years for them, and I want them to understand we have your back, stand strong. Yeah. We're going to get you the ammunition you need to control this insanity that you people are witnessing right now.
They're carrying the flag of Iran, the regime flag of Iran, the regime that has killed more than 30,000 innocent protesters as they scream that on the streets of New York. It just, vile doesn't even begin to cover what that is to witness. And again, I think emboldened very much because of look who is in Gracie Mansion. Marien, I want to move to you. We're sticking with New York here for a second. And you've posted a video online that's in a different way on Mondani about his tax plan, a video that even 50 Cent shared, criticizing the attack on the middle class that comes from this Marxist in Gracie Mansion as he desperately searches for money to fund his plans and proposals. He wants to slash the threshold for New York estate taxes from $7 million down to $750,000, wants to raise the tax to 50% from 16%, and basically just steal your whole family's livelihood away from you if it's handed down to you. I want to play a little bit of your video.
They are going to take your money. The generational wealth that our families have been trying to build, that they have literally sacrificed for over the last 20, 30 years, he wants to take half of that. Half. All for socialism.
The problem with socialism is that in a city, you have a lot of people that buy into it because they don't have a lot of money, and there's a lot of jealousy of the wealth. There's a lot of blue voters in a place like this. You're reminding people that it all sounds great until they come for your parents' house or for your money.
Yes, quite literally. I'm actually sitting at my parents' house, enjoying the hard work that my parents have put in over the course of 30 years. And what frustrates me the most is that Black and brown, especially New Yorkers, a lot of us, we had to fight to keep our properties as the neighborhoods gentrified around us, right? So you're looking at people who have fought to keep up with rising property taxes over the course of 20 years anyway, and their incomes didn't necessarily keep up with those rising costs. And so many of my friends and family have had to sell their, family buildings a while ago, but those that have kept it, this will crush them. This will take the last bit of hope out of home ownership for New Yorkers, especially for my generation going forward.
Scott, is this the wake-up call that New Yorkers needed about who he really is? He said he was going to go after the rich.
Yeah, I mean, look at the teachers. 61% of teachers, the smartest folks in the city, voted for Ma'am Danby. And what's he doing? He's going to tap into their kitty right now.
Yeah.
And let's go back to the Jews. 33% of the Jewish population voted for this. He had the audacity to have Mahmoud Kool-Aid, this America-hating, Jew-hating, not a citizen, a visa. He's here on a visa, and he is running this. He's at Gracie Mansion. He's in our house.
Yeah.
We own that house, and he's there laughing in our faces. But yet I'm the bigot because I disagree with a culture that comes here to say we're going to change the way America is, and we're not going to assimilate, and when we're not happy, we're going to throw bombs at you.
Yeah.
But I'm the bigot.
Yeah. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I got to leave it there just based on time. Marien, Scott, good to have you both. Appreciate it. Good video, Marien. We loved it. All right, after we slammed Kimmel last week for propagandizing his audience, the FCC chairman issued a strong warning to TV networks: shape up or you might be losing your license. Congresswoman Paulina Luna on that up next as Kimmel continues to gaslight the entire country at the Oscars.
There are some countries whose leaders don't support free speech. I'm not at liberty to say which.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
What can $34 get you these days? It could send you overseas, drop you in your ancestral village, and give you a taste of your heritage passed down through the generations. It can open a whole new world of faraway places and fascinating people that make you who you are today. That's a big adventure for a small price.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Little by little, age-related macular degeneration tries to take away your vision. You're not the type to sit back and do nothing, so now's the time to take action and make a plan with your doctor that includes PreserVision. It contains the clinically proven formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression. PreserVision is backed by over 20 years of clinical studies, and it's right here in the palm of your hand.
You spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Don't let AMD take that away.
It's your vision. Take action. Choose PreserVision.
A dedicated mentor, an empowered parent, an effective after-school program, digital literacy tools that protect kids online. These are just some of the solutions to the Youth Mental Health Challenge. At the Coalition to Empower Our Future, we're bringing together experts in youth well-being to solve this complex challenge. Our mission? Keep kids happy and healthy. Learn more at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.
This one goes better with the walls.
This is so much easier than the home improvement store.
There's the measurement fee, delivery fee, restocking fee.
And installation.
Oh, no. That's not my department.
With Empire's Home Floor Advantage, we have clear, all-inclusive pricing. No surprises. And installation is on your schedule.
Call or visit EmpireToday.com and get the Home Floor Advantage.
800-588-2300 Today.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
I guess this didn't sit too well with one of the Schmitt heads on Newsmax who would like to report me to the authorities.
What the FCC is supposed to regulate, ABC breaks that law every single night. That is not a comedy show, that is propaganda.
I think of it as a little of both. Oh, they're such tattletales. Such little Karen. They're so worried about cancel culture until I come on and then they're like, call the FCC. He's breaking the law.
So a few days after I called Kimmel out for propagandizing his audience again, and he went nuts again, the FCC chairman Brendan Carr warned broadcast networks over the weekend it is time to shape up or you risk losing your broadcast license. Again, they inject these networks into every home. You can't be propagandizing the viewers with that. Writing broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as the fake news, have a chance to correct course before their license renewals come up. The law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, and they will lose their licenses if they do not. Adding, the American people have subsidized broadcasters to the tune of billions of dollars by providing free access to the nation's airwaves. That is true, says Time for Change. Trump posting he's thrilled with Carr looking at the propagandist broadcasters in this country. And with that, we take you to Kimmel last night at the Oscars.
As you know, there are some countries whose leaders don't support free speech. I'm not at liberty to say which. Let's just leave it at North Korea and CBS.
He's such a nitwit. This is a man who has spent every single night for a decade now feeding his audience Democrat Party talking points, propagandizing his federally regulated audience on a federally regulated television network. He's done this every night for 10 years, and he's claiming it's fascist to tell him that he has to stop and just at least play both sides and play it fair. He's calling that fascism with a straight face. Congresswoman Paulina Luna joins us now. Jimmy Kimmel, Paulina. I mean, they're weaponizing everything they can to try and win elections. This is a great case of it, and this is, again, injected in every TV home in the country. ABC and the whole network across the board is Democrat talking points.
Well, look, I wouldn't try Brendan Carr right now. I think the FCC chair has a really valid case right now, and I think that this conversation actually goes a step further, Rob, into what money people are taking on behalf of, foreign governments, for example, whether that's on social media, whether that's some of these podcasters. I think that this is a bigger discussion. It's obviously been a problem for some time, but with a lot of these networks, what they got away with is, again, running these kind of drive-by integrity or drive-by reputation assassinations with fake news stories, with propaganda talking points, some of them maybe being false stories from other adversarial countries, and then hoping that the American people don't really notice when they have to issue the formal apology and retraction. So I'm glad to see that the FCC is playing hardball.
Yeah, and they are, and rightly so. And it's indefensible. What Kimmel claims here is completely indefensible. It's outrageous. I want to move on. I want to talk about DHS. Democrats have refused to fund Homeland Security for a month now, even though we're in a very dangerous time. We're in the middle of a war. TSA is not getting paid, and it shows. The lines at the airports are horrific. Democrats are torturing Americans at our own airports with these delays and these lines, once again, as they always seem to do, sacrificing our quality of life for illegal aliens, which they do this all the time when you look at their policies. Meantime, this week is the SAVE Act showdown on Capitol Hill. Procedural votes expected to start in the Senate as soon as tomorrow. Wanted to get your expectations on this. Trump is trying to pressure Thune to do the right thing. He obviously doesn't want to do it. What do you think?
Look, the Senate, it's unacceptable that they think the American people are too stupid to realize that this is a show vote and it doesn't count. They frankly are sick and tired of getting their offices called and being approached in public about whether or not they're going to actually get the Save America Act passed. And so what this is called is a show vote. They know that they're not serious about it. And I've actually publicly stated that if some of these senators don't want to come out on record in support of the standing filibuster, that a good House member, some of the flamethrowers that we have, and we have plenty of them, should primary them, because this is the bare basics that they even ran on in their elections that they promised the American people that they would deliver on, and they're grossly failing on it. And so, look, I think that this is a show vote. I don't think it matters. And I think that really once their legislation starts dying, which it will, there's about a group of about 30 to 40 of us in the House that will not vote on any of their legislation or the rules to pass it if they don't want to play ball.
Yeah.
But even in the event that that doesn't work, we're going to have to stick Save America Act on FISA. That's literally one of the only ways to get this done. Some of these senators would walk over broken glass to pass FISA. And I'm frankly sick and tired of the DC games.
That's an interesting thing I didn't know. Can you really quickly try to just diagnose why they are terrified of passing this bill? Why Republicans would be, why John Thune does not want this to get through?
Well, I think that he probably has an issue with 3 of his senators specifically not wanting to vote for it that are claiming to be Republicans. But the fact is that if he embraced the talking filibuster or even remove the filibuster, which he has the ability to do so, this wouldn't be an issue. But the fact that he's saying that he can't do it or that the votes aren't there, that they can't do the procedural hurdles to do the talking filibuster, that's a quick way. He's finding a quick way to no instead of figuring out a way to yes. And that's unacceptable. That's a defeatist perspective. And I am frustrated because, I threatened to shut down the government over this. The idea was to embrace the talking filibuster. And then they quickly say, oh, we don't have time to do that. But Rob, they had time to do a dog parade. They went on 150 days of vacation, not in session. This has been over there for over 300 days. They all asked, they groveled to the president for his endorsement. Please, Mr. President, will you endorse me? They don't even do their jobs. I'm so sick of it. And I know I'm not the only one. So I'm happy that I have some of my Patriot colleagues in the House that are saying absolutely no, not going to happen. So one of their bills is going to come to the floor this week. That's probably going to die. But definitely everything else that they send from the Senate will die. I promise you that.
I love that. Anna Paulina Luna. Congresswoman, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
The small mind of Joy Reid comparing the United States with Iran.
Our regime has secret police. They have secret police.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. With trillions of dollars vanishing from the stock portfolios of retiring Americans, many hardworking people I speak with are concerned about the holdings in their IRAs. But I have good news for you. Our team at Swiss America can show you how easy it is to own gold in your IRA. You see, even with economic turmoil all around us, gold continues to not only be a safe haven, but is also increasing to all-time highs. The volatility of markets has created a lot of undue stress for people. Wouldn't you like that peace of mind that diversifying into metals can provide? For over 40 years, Swiss America has helped people just like you own precious metals in your IRAs. So don't miss this opportunity. Call or text our team at the number on your screen to receive a free copy of our Gold IRA brochure today.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Big news! Super Beta Prostate is better than ever with a new advanced formula, enhanced with saw palmetto.
In time, you'll notice less urges to urinate, improved bladder emptying, and you won't be getting up at night for so many bathroom trips.
Super Beta Prostate is the #1 selling brand for men's prostate and urinary health, and the #1 recommended by urologists. And now the new advanced formula is better than ever with saw palmetto.
Super Beta Prostate works.
Find it at these retailers.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Last night was Oscar night. I had no idea. I really didn't even know. Sometimes I usually know and I just ignore it. I didn't even know it happened. And DEI standards are probably the reason why they've completely ruined all of this. In order to be eligible in the Best Picture category, you have to meet certain diversity quotas. A film can achieve the standard by having a lead or supporting actor from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. At least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors submitted for Oscar consideration is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group in a specific country or territory of production. A number of other diversity quotas as well have just completely destroyed the awards for the best films, which means that the best films now are not the best films. The best films are the ones that probably didn't get any awards. The film One Battle After Another, I did watch this, starring DiCaprio, was not good. He carried it about as hard as he could, but it just wasn't that good of a picture. It glamorizes the militant Marxist left in this country as hard as it does. So, of course, that movie crushed it at the Oscars. It just wasn't, and I can be objective. There's a lot of very liberal films that I think are very good. It just wasn't that good. It was not a Best Picture, but it won. Sinners was pure race baiting. Of course, that cleaned up as well. 4 Oscars, Best Actor, Screenplay, Cinematography, Original Score. They love movies like this in Hollywood now. As far as the politics go, Spanish actor Javier Bardem, who is a very, very talented actor, revealing yet again just how deranged he is in his personal life.
No to war and free Palestine.
No to war and free Palestine. So you're okay with the Jews getting slaughtered, and you also are okay with the Iranians being slaughtered by the regime. You want to make sure that the Iranian regime can continue to kill its own people and oppress these people for coming up on 50 years now. And you also, at the same time, want to make sure that Iran's proxy, Hamas, gets a little breather as well so they can continue to kill the Jews. Thank you, Javier. And one more from last night's Oscars. Director David Borenstein with the gaslight of the century after winning Best Documentary. Take a look.
Mr. Nobody Against Putin is about how you lose your country. And what we saw when working with this footage, it's that you lose it through countless small little acts of complicity. When we act complicit, when a government murders people on the streets of our major cities. When we don't say anything, when oligarchs take over the media and control how we can produce it and consume it.
Oligarchs take over the media. Bro, your ideology has controlled the entirety of the media for like 30 years in this country. You try to bring it back to the middle, just like with Jimmy Kimmel, and they lose their frickin' minds. What an idiot. And finally, speaking of idiots, Joy Reid says the U.S. and Iran are equally oppressive regimes.
Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. So we're marginally better, and we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam.
So let's look at the oppressions here of women. In the United States, it's not abortion on tap until the baby's in, kindergarten? In Iran, it's 2 nurses gang raped and tortured by security agents with the regime because they treated wounded protesters during the uprising against the regime. Pretty comparable, right, Joy? Ireland's president with a despicable message for this St. Patrick's Day. Up next.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
He's bleeding. Okay. We're good.
Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. Well, there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the Life Pack.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifehack.net or call 877-543-3822.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Are you starting to slow down and feeling past your prime? It's time for Strong Cell, an NAD supplement that boosts my natural energy and sharpens my focus.
I had a lot of inflammation, and now today I can move again. I can walk without hurting.
I have kidney disease. Strong Cell has really helped the difference in my energy level. My nails started to grow. My hair started to grow.
You actually do get clear-minded. Healthier cells mean a healthier you.
Save 20% now at strongcell.com.
Work shouldn't leave you feeling stiff or sore. You deserve a happier, healthier workday. That starts with a better workspace. One where you can stand a little, move a little, and feel a lot better. Barry has everything you need for head-to-toe comfort, with standing desks, ergonomic seating and accessories, so you can work well and live well. And right now, you can save 20% site-wide at Very.com.
Finally tonight, Ireland's President Catherine Connolly guilting her people into accepting Middle Eastern migrants as she destroys the culture of her homeland.
The story of Patrick's life serves as a reminder of the resilience and courage of migrants, the invaluable contributions that they have made and continue to make to the countries they now call home, sometimes even in the face of great adversity. We stand in solidarity with those who find themselves in vulnerable and dangerous circumstances.
St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow, of course. I'm sure, Rob Finnerty, that St. Patrick would have wanted all of the Middle East to come to Ireland and be put on the dole, paid for by the Irish taxpayers. They could put about 10 of those families.
Close in that shot, guys. Zoom it back a little bit. I'm not that good looking. Holy cow.
Take 10 of those
they got me at a
families and
Schmitt
put her in
Zoom
her
right there. They were like, pull Rob really close. We want to see.
They want to see that
his
beautiful
face.
Irish mug on this St. Patrick's
guys.
Eve.
Don't you know it on a Monday? Yeah, that woman, I'm not sure about that. But we got a lot of stuff in store tomorrow night on this show. You're an Irishman as well, sort of. We all have a little bit of that. But we're talking.
I am tomorrow anyway.
A potato doomed my people. Brian Finnerty, the first one here, 1842. True story. All right, Rob. Finnerty starts now. Thanks, bud.